In this video, I will tell you what Figma components are and how to work with them. A Figma component is an element. Whether it's a button, screen, icon, text, it doesn't matter. It's an element that you are going to use in your interface. And most often, or rather always, it will be repeated over and over again. That is, you created a basic component like a button, and based on this button, you will build your interface. Thus, a design system, among all other factors, is also a library of components that you use. Then the front-end developers look there to understand because they are building their own library of components and component. This is one of the strongest tools in the film to create a component. Once you have already created some base for the component, that is, we have an input with some title. To create a component, you can select one element or several elements at once if you select one and click immediately. Here, by clicking Create Component or the ellipsis, and then Create Component, you create a component on top. You can write its name on the left in the Asset tab. If you click on the settings icon, then create this file. That is, what you created in this file, you can find your component. In our case, it's email. In this case, we have two components. One master component, which is the main one where all the initial settings and rules are defined, and the second is a child component that adheres to the rules and settings of the master component. We can still change parameters such as text. For example, I just changed the background color to make it more visible. We can change also the size, font size, and other manipulations. What we cannot change are the main settings of the same layout. We can even change the border color, but we cannot change the main layout settings. That is, I am trying to move elements up and down using the keyboard, change their order, but it won't work and where they were. Our component was not lying there, but it can and will be in a separate file. That is, all master components are stored in a separate file, whether it's a UI kit or a design system. To connect a file with components, simply go to Settings, to Assets, and here you will find Libraries, that is libraries. And precisely in Libraries, you will find your library where the components are stored. As soon as you create a file with components, with master components, it will appear here in Libraries. You connect this library using the button you see on the screen and then go to Assets, and you will see that your components appear here in the panel. You can select all libraries, view all libraries that are in any way connected to the child components you are using in your file to quickly access and find the master component. Let me transfer this to another page as an example. This element, and for example, if I want to change the order here, I need to quickly find the master component. I right-click and select the main component, then go to the main component, and the film automatically takes me to the main component. Here, in the main component, I am already changing the order, that is the auto layout, and you can see that in all the child components the auto layout has changed. If we want the style and everything else to also match in the child component, since we have already made some manipulations, we changed the text, we visually altered the child component as much as possible. Let's assume that we also messed up the text a little. In general, the child component fell apart. To reset to factory settings to default, just right-click and select Reset All Changes. And then our child component will return to its original state, which resembles the master component. Also, if suddenly we decide that we want to significantly modify some child component and create another master component based on it, right-click, then select Detach Instance, and it will be unlinked from the master component. That is, we now have a completely new element where we can create our own rules. We can say that it will be. This rectangular email address will be aligned to the bottom right corner, and in general there will be several email addresses here. Something unclear was created, so you understand then. Based on this, we can create a new component from this element by selecting Create Component. You can also use a child component to create a link and develop a new master component. That is, if I take a child component, then a child component of the password and button, I can combine them into one new master component, which is called, for example, a screen. This is done so that if you have any default elements on a mobile screen, such as a bottom or top menu that will be used throughout your interface, and you don't want to go through all the screens every time to change the icon in the mobile menu everywhere, all you need to do is create a mobile menu, make it a master component, then create a screen and transfer the child component there and create a new master component. Overall, this is very convenient. I recommend it to everyone, especially if you are using multiple screens. If you have a large project, it will save you a lot time. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Write all your questions in the comments, give likes, and all useful links will usually be in the description below the video.